All right, I will call the Public Utilities Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Son, quorum.
Present.
Hall,
Here.
Nolan,
Here.
Kreisel,
Here.
Tewinkle.
Yeah, he's coming back in.
Okay.
I think we lost him there.
Yep, there he is. Okay, we're good.
All right, so we're going to jump to 4.1, which is the discussion and possible action on the 2020 PSC report and 2020 financial summary.
Okay, so you've got the entire report and some financial summary. I did send out, if everybody received an email later today from me with an updated financial summary. April Anderson is here from Clifton Larson Allen to walk us through that. So if you do have any questions, I'm sure she's probably just going to want you to jump out and ask. I asked her to share a screen so we can see the latest and greatest, because like I said, it did change from what was put in your packets. So if April wants to just share her screen now, then we can kind of get started on that. So
Okay. Okay. Are you able
Yep,
to
perfect.
see the report? Okay.
yep.
So as Kip said, I'm here tonight to share the financial summary for 2020. In this financial summary, there are 5 years that we show so that you can just see how things have changed over the last few years and what if there are any trends in that. So as Kip said, if you do have questions as I go through it, I'm not going to go through every line, just kind of hit some of the key highlights. But if you do have questions, certainly let me know. And I know that there was one question posed that I did respond to Kip with, and I'm not quite sure if, so I'll try to kind of identify, I'll go through the financial summary, but kind of identify where this information ties to some of the information in the PSC report, if you want to go back and look at that detail in the PSC report. So first of all, here we start off on page 1 at the top with the revenue side of things, the sales of water. And the top part is in dollar values. And then the second little chart is the gallons sold for each type of customer. And so here you'll see that overall the total sales of water to your customers in 2020 was a little over $3 million. And so that is up a little bit from last year. You'll see that the biggest change is in that irrigation line. And so that was with your last rate case that you had, the irrigation fee or rate was new then and implemented. And then there's been a little tweaking of that, or a little tweaking of how it's been applied and how your customers are being charged over the last couple of years. So that's why you see some changes there. And overall, you'll see that the sales of water for the total for the year also increased. So that's kind of corresponding, obviously, to your increase in overall revenues. And where this information is mostly noted in the PSC report is on Schedule W-02. And that's where that information is in the PSC report. Are there any questions on the revenue side of things?
Does the public fire protection number already exclude the 135,000 that was charged to irrigation customers? I mean, are those reverse? So like 135,000 came out of the irrigation number and went into public fire protection?
So I don't think there were any major, well, there was a little reclassification of items over the last couple of years with the past rate case that you went through, and then with the current rate case that you're going through at this point in time. And so I think it is somewhat of a reclassification of some of the rates and how they were being charged. Yes.
So, yes, the self-found charge, fire protection charge for irrigation meters that was totaled about 135,000. All that's reflected in those two numbers, the irrigation sales number and the public fire protection number.
Correct, for 2020. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then obviously the chart is just more of a visual of how those things have changed over the last few years. So then we'll go to operating expenditures, and you can see how it, so each of the last 5 years, you can see that your revenues, your operating revenues have exceeded your operating expenditures. So that's obviously a good outcome in that your current fees that you're charging your customers can sustain and pay for those operating expenditures that you have each year. Obviously, in the first couple of years, it was pretty close, and so then you had your rate change and lined things up a little bit better there. On the expenditure side of things, the personnel income is obviously your biggest expense, and then contractual services and supplies and expense. And in the next couple of pages, we'll go down with some of the details of what makes those numbers up. So then here, this is somewhat corresponding to Schedule W-05 in the PSC report. I think it's about page 42 of 77. And so there is slight differences between what you may see in this financial summary and the specific items that you see on the PSC report on that schedule. But overall, the totals should match. What is kind of different is that there are some payroll distribution allocations that are done for the PSC report. So we're taking some of the numbers from your financial system and then allocating it out based on the PSC report lines. And in addition, there's some benefits and fringes that in this particular financial summary are broken out by the different kind of pieces of your operations. So water pumping, water treatment, and that sort of thing. Whereas on the PSC report, the fringes and some of those fringe benefits are put on a different line within the W-05 schedule. And so just want to kind of give that heads up that it might not be apples to apples when you're looking, if you're trying to compare this summary to the PSC report exactly. But here, as far as your expenses by the various activities, there were no major changes really. You'll see here on this reservoirs and towers line that did increase from last year due to water tower painting and maintenance that you had occur in 2020. But otherwise, then you had some other, obviously, maintenance of your actual infrastructure will vary from year to year a little bit depending on what the needs are. But otherwise, most things were pretty comparable from year to year. And so you'll see that the total operating expenses really, increased 150,000 or so. And then when you net the revenues that we looked at on the first page with the expenses here, you'll see that the net was a positive 621,000. And so then that was, again, operating revenues and expenditures. So those items that truly come from the operations. Whereas here in this next section, you'll see debt service costs, other revenues such as contributions or interest revenue, and then your depreciation expense on your plant and infrastructure. And so when you take all of that, your net income from operations, and then incorporate those additional expenses and non-operating revenues, you get to the net of a negative $360,000. And so a different way to kind of break out the expenses that we did see above is here, and what you saw on that schedule on the previous page as far as personnel income and contractual services, depreciation, and that sort of thing. So this bottom chart on this page is just breaking it out slightly different in that regard.
But all those, excuse me, I'm sorry, April, all those expenses by object,
Yes.
they match up to what number? Say personnel, well, okay, we can go back, maybe it's easier if we go back to water pumping. Expenses by activity.
Yeah.
It shows for 2020, 496,000 plus. But on schedule W05, it shows 430,000. So that difference of $66,000, where on the PSC report would that be found?
Well, and again, that's what I mentioned earlier on, is that this isn't going to be apples to apples, because in this 496,000, there's some supervisory salaries that are allocated. And there are some fringe benefits then that are pulled out on a separate line in that schedule W05. It's down below on the last page of that schedule.
Is that under the administrative general section?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Sorry, now I lost. Okay. So, and that is in each of those sections. So there's the water pumping, which has some various fringe benefits that are truly allocated there, and then some supervisory salaries and water treatment and so on. And so within your financial system, it's broken out that way. But again, per the PSC and what they want the expenditures to be reported as, that's why you find those differences. So then when we go down to the next page, it's just, here is a cash flow and your change in cash. So in the last couple of years, that obviously went down a little bit because of the projects that you have had going on, the new well, and then, but you did increase it a little bit from 2019 to 2020. And then at the bottom part here is just showing how your overall cash is broken out into the different segments. As far as 734,000 of that is from impact fees that you still have. You have 103,000 set aside for future facilities, and then the rest is really your unreserved or available cash at a little over 5 million. And then this very last page is specifically from the PSC report and the PSC calculation that is done. And this is schedule F23. And so what this calculation is it's called the rate of return that the PSC calculates. And it's a function of your actual plant value, and then how much revenue basically you're getting from that. Obviously, there's a few things that go into that as far as inventory is included, and then any regulatory liabilities are adjusted in there as well. So this, what your rate of return is for 2020 is 0.32%. And the goal there, or your targeted rate of return is 6%. And so you'll see that from the rate case in 2018, you got up closer to that 5 to 6%. That is the goal. And then it's gone down, but expect that to come back up as you do implement your new rates again. So at a high level, that is the results of the financial information for 2020. Are there any further questions?
I don't, it does, this is Mary again. I guess we're not gonna, this is kind of going through the PSC annual report. I only had one other question on the annual report, which is not part of the financial stuff. I was wondering the type of system that Hudson uses, is that an AMR or an AMI? Advanced meter reading drive-by type
Oh.
technology or
No, we use
advanced
the AMI.
infrastructure? AMI,
Yeah, we use the radio.
huh?
Radio read.
Oh, the AMI. So that should be checked on that meter page or whatever page that is. I can't remember what page it is on the PSC report.
Okay, so it's scheduled
I think
W.
it's checked as, or X'd as AMR, not AMI.
Okay. We can make that change.
Thank you. Oh, that's another question. Kip, is the meter change all complete?
We are down to, we're down to about 40 that just refuse to get back to us. So we're going to be dealing with that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions for April on the financials or anything, or any other questions in general on the report? If not, April, if you want to maybe stop sharing your screen then, and then we can make a motion to accept the PSC report and go from there.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
I said, do I have a motion? So you want to make the motion?
Oh, yeah, I'll make the motion to accept
Okay,
it.
This is David. I'll second that.
thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Right. Thank you, April. Appreciate it.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Have a good rest of the night.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, 2.1, approve the June 8th, 2021 PUC meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Somebody,
Okay, okay, Susie, you're moving to approve?
Yes.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Pat? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Old business, discussion and action on communication procedures between Public Utilities Commission and City Council pertaining to information added to utility bills.
Okay, so this was tabled at our June 8th meeting, just so I could try to gather a little more information. And unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of information to really gather. So we can do, you guys can do a policy on this topic. If you want it to be a policy, that policy then would have to go to City Council for approval. Or you can just do, a simple direction, I guess, to me, to Jace type thing, that we do bring anything back. But I guess it's kind of up to you guys and, up for discussion and what you guys want to do. So, any policies that we do have are kept by the clerk. So she would keep that on file in the clerk's office. So with that, I'll leave it open to you guys.
I would recommend that we have an official policy. And the reason for that is then it's in the clerk's office and it should be easier to find when this issue comes up.
So Joyce, do you want to you want to read how you want the policy?
Sure.
Or
All right.
how do you, I mean, I don't want to word it. I'd rather have you guys word it.
Okay, so this is what I had sent to Kip, and I've just made a few changes to it. But draft of utility bill communication approval process and policy. Placing messages or inserts into utility bills is an efficient and cost-effective method to communicate with City of Hudson and Village of North Hudson residents and businesses. A message can be printed directly on the bill at no additional cost to the utility, or an insert can be added to the envelopes for only the cost of printing the insert and the labor to add the insert to the envelopes. This policy addresses the type of information that is allowed in the utility bills and the approval process for messages and inserts. Only information that directly pertains to city or village business will be approved. Before a message or insert is placed in a utility bill, the message or insert must be sent to the Public Utilities Commission for initial evaluation. If approved, the PUC will forward the request to the City of Hudson Common Council for final approval. If the communication is an insert into the bills, the request must include information on who will provide the labor to add the insert into the bills.
Objections, changes? Everybody's good?
Is there a motion then to submit this to the City Council for approval?
And then Joyce, why don't you email that to us?
Yes.
And then Jace can get that typed up, and then we can, I'm sure you're probably going to want to have Andy and Susie sign that, and then send it on to the Common Council.
Okay, I'll email it to you and to Jace.
Yeah, and then we'll take care of getting it signed.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So Joyce, a
Make the motion to
question.
approve.
I have a question for you, Joyce. So the city council would approve the North Hudson Village request of an item to go on the utility bill?
That's a good question.
I think that was kind of left out in your policy, so
So do we want
Well, I
to?
think-
I don't know how you want to do that.
I don't know the answer on that. I can double check on that, Mary. I'm assuming since the city council has control over the PUC, that the city council would be the one to approve anything like that. I don't know if the village has the authority to approve that, but I can double check on that.
Wouldn't the village approve it before it even came to us?
I'm sorry, what, Dave?
Wouldn't the village have already approved it before it came to us?
Probably, but it sounds like your policy has to then go through a city council approval.
Yeah, it does.
You're including the village business in the beginning of the policy. I don't have the policy in front of me, so I'm just going from memory here from what Joyce was saying. I might not have heard correctly.
No, I said only information that directly pertains to city or village business will be approved.
Okay, so then what goes to the city council is something other than pertains to city or village business?
No. All of anything that goes into the utility bills that is either a message or an insert would go to the city council.
So, yeah, I think what she's saying, Mary, or what she's meaning by this is that, okay, so if the village has a street project going on, for example, and you guys want to get some information out to the public, you have the opportunity to use that. Now, if, John Smith is going to be doing a car show in the village and he wants to get information out to the entire city, that would not be acceptable. It needs to be city or village business, related business. Does that make sense?
Right. It does. So in your first example with, say, a street project, the village would request
Yes,
the utility commission to have it inserted.
yes.
And
Yes,
the
and then
city
it would
council
go-
would approve it.
Yes.
So it would have to go through two approvals on the
Yes.
city side.
Yes. And I guess that it's the same for the city. If the city wants to put something in, if let's say Dean Chamberlain, our engineer, wants to put an insert in about, an upcoming project next year. That again would have to come to PUC, look at it. PUC would have to make a decision on if they're going to approve it and forward it on to city council for approval or just deny it. So I don't see any difference with, anything with the village, I guess. Everything would have to go through 2 approvals.
Dave, did you make the motion to
I did. Yes.
accept this? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Pat.
Okay, good. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. So, discussion and possible action on Anoxic mixer disconnect replacement for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, so this also was tabled last month so we could get cleaner quotes on this or proposals on this. So we did go back to Simon Electric, Neo Electric, and B&B Electric. We did have our engineer down there on site at the wastewater treatment plant did write up now I'm drawing a blank here, a spec for it. So everybody was on board with, looking at the same things, stuff like that. So they all resubmitted again, and we've got Simon Electric at $19,830, Neo Electric at $12,311.79, B&B Electric at $14,180. And again, this is something that we can either attach to this project as part of the wastewater treatment plant project, or we can have it completed after the project is done. My suggestion is to have, more than likely, if we go with Neo, who would be the lower bid, to have this outside the scope of that project. We can still use SEH, our engineer down there, for inspection of this and things like that. But if we do incorporate this actually into the wastewater treatment plant project, you would be expecting a change order on it. And then you're also going to be expecting a markup from Magni on this if they have to run the paperwork and everything through them. So.
And do you think it should come from contingency or capital funds?
Well, what we can do, we're also looking at, there's a few other change orders that aren't ready yet, but they will be coming through.
Mhm.
One of them is, just for example, is the fencing down there. It was not part of the project. We removed some of the fencing, but then now along with Highway 35, some of the fencing got removed, and it's just terrible fencing. So we are going to be looking at possibly redoing the fencing down there. But what I would like to do is, we can hold off on this work. This work doesn't have to be done today. We can hold off on this work, towards the end of the project, and where we can look and see what we have left for contingency and things like that. And then we can kind of figure it out from there. If we have contingency money left from the project, we might as well use that. Otherwise we'd have to go through capital.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept Neo's bid and to complete the work after the wastewater treatment project is done and use contingency funding if available?
So moved.
Thank you, Pat. Do I have a second? Dave, you're muted.
Thumbs up.
There you go. All right, here I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
So I'll second that, and I've got a quick question in regards to when is this project done? This project is done in November. They'll maintain that pricing until then before it's completed?
I would assume, yeah. I don't know exact, I can't say 100%, but I would assume that they'll hold that till then.
Okay.
I thought the bids explicitly said that these prices were good for a certain term.
Yeah, that's always the language. A lot of it would have to do with when they can actually get in there and do this work too. So I can always talk to Neil, see what they say. Like I said, with working with a lot of these companies, unless there's some skyrocketing in electrical costs or things like that. Or we could just do it now. It's completely up to you guys. I can have Neil come in immediately and start working on this if we want to do it. We do have money in contingency. I don't know right off the top of my head exactly how much at this point, but there's still a good chunk of change in there. So,
Well, and if we need more money for the contingency later, we can transfer it from the capital funds.
you can.
Mhm.
So if you want, it's a good point, Dave. But if you want, I can get a hold of Neil tomorrow and tell him to cut them free.
Doesn't matter to me. If they hold the price, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, if they'll hold it until the end of the project or later in the project, I think we'll do that. But if they won't, then we can just have them do it now.
It's fine.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so, new business, 4.2, discussion and possible action on 2020 CMAR report.
Okay, so you've got your CMAR report, which is a compliance maintenance annual report down at the wastewater treatment plant. It's an annual report that's done. We pretty much do it ourselves. It's just kind of a self-check system on everything that kind of happened down there. So you have the report in your packets. A lot of it probably means a whole lot of nothing to a lot of you, with the exception of the second to last page, which gives us our grading summary. So if you're looking at the grading summary with second to the last page, it should be, I don't know what, page 120 is where you need to be. The wastewater treatment plant was letter grades all A, so a 4.0 GPA, grade point average on that. Really, it's a kudos to the guys that are down there, the guys that work down there every day. It's basically, this report is giving you confirmation that the guys that are down there are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Not only at the wastewater treatment plant, but also at the out in the collection system with lift stations, things of that nature. So cleaning, inspections of manholes, pretty much everything that goes into their daily jobs. So, but we do need a motion and a second and a vote on that to accept it.
I'll move to
Anybody have any
accept.
questions on it?
So Dave just made the motion to accept. Do we have a second?
Second, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. Any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to add is congratulations again.
Yes.
To the group. That's fantastic.
Yeah, excellent job.
Thank
I'll
you.
definitely let them know.
Yeah.
I will let them know.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next is Magni Pay, application number 13. So,
It's in your packet, you've got your Magni pay application number 13 from Magni Construction for the wastewater treatment plant project. The SEH has gone through and verified what they have submitted. as completed. And they are recommending, and we are recommending a payment of $724,529.05. Which breaks down to about 50, I want to say this project's about 58% complete.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. Second?
Second.
Okay, Susie or, we'll give it to Susie this time. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Project updates and project status reports. So the wastewater treatment plant construction update.
Okay, so we should be on page 135. So the summary report from the wastewater treatment plant, the new laboratory finishes were installed, cabinets, flooring, paint, and ceiling in the influent and lab building. New pre-treatment building, roofing membrane and sheet membrane was completed. Next steps include painting, electrical wiring, and treatment equipment installation. The activated sludge tanks, the north section was drained, cleaned, air piping and valves were updated, and abrasive blasting began in preparation for protective coatings. So yeah, they're doing the north. They've got the middle one's done. They're doing the north now. Once that's done, then they'll be moving to the south. The control building existing roof was removed. New insulation and membrane roof was installed. UV disinfection, continued concrete work near effluent box and flow meter vault. And the sludge storage tank received new membrane roofing, submersible decant pump equipment was installed, and deteriorated piping in the basement was removed. So you also have some pretty pictures in there, just so everybody can kind of see the updates and kind of what's been going on here the last month down there. And again, you know, it would be nice maybe sometime once the Highway 35 project kind of moves out of that area. You know, if anybody is interested and wants to, you know, take a walk through there, you know, definitely it's congested down there right now. That's why I'm saying if you give it a month or so. But if anybody ever does want to just go down there and you know, do a quick walkthrough and kind of see what's going on and what's new and things like that, don't be afraid to get a hold of me. So that is just your construction update.
I would like to see that. I'm admiring that beautiful new laboratory.
I would like to see it as well.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we can, you know, if you guys are interested, we can set something up if we want to meet as a group down there. I would have to post that, obviously. But you know, you're all more than welcome at any time. Just, you know, give me an email, text, call, whatever. We'll see if we can set a time up where we can kind of walk you through. So
How is this work being done with the work that continues to be done with, you know, processing the sewage? How are you coordinating things so that you can keep processing sewage?
Yeah, the guys down there, believe me, they're working extremely hard. It's bypassing, it's rerouting sewage through the plant through different, you know, depending on what they're working on. They have to reroute things, you know, through the plant different ways, things of that. They might have to hold on to it, you know, for a little while, and then start the process up. I know that there's been a couple mornings where they've been in early, you know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, so they can, you know, get some stuff done before the guys get there where they have to shut things down. But, you know, knock on wood, it's been going real well, for everybody down there. The construction keeps moving forward as we're seeing. But yeah, it's a lot of coordination, you know, it's a lot of, and especially with Highway 35, when that was out in front, we were really having issues with trying to get, trucks in there to haul sludge down to Ellsworth, and it was a lot of coordination. So, but they're getting there.
Good.
Say, Kip, last page.
Yeah.
Picture of the pipe. How old is that pipe?
Boy, great question, David. I really don't know. I'm guessing probably original.
I
Just
think
by
it
looking
outlived
at it.
its useful life.
Yeah.
Time for an upgrade.
So I mean, that's a perfect example right there of why this project was really needed. I mean, we all kind of toured it, a couple years ago, and you guys seen what was all in there, and when you drive by, you don't really know what's happening down there. But with the age of that plant and that picture really tells the story of what that condition that plant was in. So it's definitely definitely needed for sure.
Any other
you don't
questions?
want to put your hand in there.
All right, so project status report.
Okay, project status report. The Highway 35, we're roughly about 50%, probably even a little bit more on that right now in terms of the water and sanitary. They've got about 3 blocks left to go, and then they'll be moving down to the Lake Malibu crossing down there. So I'm guessing, another month and a half, probably 2 months, we should be completed with the underground stuff, and then it's just everything above ground from there. So wastewater treatment plant, we've kind of talked about already. We've got 50% construction, but I think it's closer to like 58% if you go off of the financials of that. So that's about it for construction updates.
That's exciting. All right, so other business for informational purposes only or for an upcoming agenda? Anything?
I don't have anything unless anybody else does.
All right. Sewer and water utility cash reports.
Yep, those are included in your packet. So if there's any questions on those, I will try.
And we don't need a motion on those?
No, it's just for
That's
information.
cash report.
Yep. Okay, any questions on those? All right, so then approval of claims.
So moved.
Thanks, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gert. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. And our last item is adjournment.
So moved.
Thanks, Dave. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kurt. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a great night.